Today I'm coming to you with my reading plans for October. I did have a successful September, although I didn't necessarily read what I intended to read. So I'll be coming back to you with a wrap up next week. I did read the number of books I wanted to read, but I feel like my physical TBR shelf is growing again, whereas I want it to be shrinking. So this month with my TBR game, I'm going to be trying to, I don't know what that is. I think that's a box of books behind me. Yeah, it's a box of books behind me. What was I saying? Yeah, this time on my TBR game, I am going to be attempting to read things off my physical shelf and then only going to digital if I haven't got anything there. Set of prompts here. Sorry, my screen just froze. I don't know. Each one of these is a book that I intended to read but did not read, so I can pull one out and it says something like, Q by Dalda, which I actually have read. So I'm going to take that out. Doucher, which I actually have read, so I'm going to take that out. But that's a good example. I intended to read it. I didn't read it that month. I put it in the box and then we'll see. Or some of them are just ones that have been on my shelf for a very long time. Anything that moved into this house with me, we've been here 4 years now. So yeah, there are still a few books on my shelf that did move with me. So it would be nice to read them or decide I'm not going to read them. But if I'm there, they're because I really wanted to read them. So that was said, what I've got is I've got Trivial Pursuit. And I'm just going to angle the camera so you can see. I've got this nice Trivial Pursuit board. It's a bit shorter than normal. I'm going to roll the die, land on a prompt, and answer a question. My questions are blue, geography, yellow, history, purple, arts and literature, and for purple I've got brown wedges because the colour of the wedges changed at some point. Pink, entertainment, orange, sports and leisure, and green, science and nature. And then I've got these prompt cards which will have a prompt somewhere. So for this one it says blue, a book that's set somewhere I've been. Pink, entertainment, a celebrity recommendation or book club pink. Yellow, TBR vet, which is where I'll bring this jar in. Purple, litfic. Green, a book about a scientist or engineer. And orange, a YouTube recommendation. So I'm just going to shuffle that back into my prompt cards, but each card has 6 questions, and I pick the card at the top, and the prompt that's similar, which is exactly how TBR Pursuit is played. So, sorry, exactly how Trivial Pursuit is played. So if you know how to play Trivial Pursuit, you know how to play TBR Pursuit. And I'm just going to get into it. Okay, I've got a 4. I don't think you can quite see there, but I did get a 4. And I'm feeling in a kind of like crime, thriller, maybe horror. I'm fairly certain I'll be reading Patrick Ness and Monster Calls this month, but that's the kind of vibe I'm going for. So I am going to go for, this is such a hard decision, I don't even know. I'm going to go for pink, entertainment. Okay. Set somewhere I've been on holiday. I've been to a lot of places, not necessarily always on holiday. So let me think about that. Okay, so I struggled with this one, probably because I normally read a book that's set in the place where I'm going when I'm going there. But I found this one, which is called Holy Fools by Joanne Harris. And this is set in the French countryside, so I figured that was close enough. And it's a historical, possibly mystery, set in medieval France. Okay. 6, so I can go back into the middle and out again. Okay, given that we've just had historical, I'm going to go with a yellow. A book featuring a craft. And this one should be easier, I think. I hope. Okay, this one is a bit of a spoiler for what I didn't read in September, because this was on my September TBR as well. A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft, which is a romantic about sewing with a very shiny cover, apparently. Let's put a yellow in. 3. Let's have some... I was going to say let's have some geography, but I don't actually see any geography. 1, 2, 3. Let's have some science and nature. Clocks on the cover or a time word in the title. This might be the crime that I was after. We'll see. And I found 34 Days by Anita Waller on my ebooks. So that will be fit in there quite nicely. That was a green. Okay. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pink I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go for the blue. That's what I said, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Blue. With a natural disaster. And I really don't have one with a natural disaster, so I'm going to pull from my TBR Vet. I got After the Forest, which I've already read, so I'm going to pull again, but that's good because it means that I've already read it. Threads That Bind. That's another fantasy about sewing, I think. It's certainly romantic. I don't remember enough about it to say what it's about, but let's have a look. Descendants of gods live alongside mortals. Oh, there's a murder mystery. It's a romantic with mystery subplot. Awesome. And I need to go through here and check that everything that's in there is actually on the shelf. Okay, so that was blue. I don't have to get one of every colour. I like to get one of every colour. 4. 3, 4. Green or orange. Well, there we go. I haven't had an orange yet. Oh, sorry, I forgot to put you back at the thing. Most recent acquisition. That is super easy. I could definitely do that one. I'd sort of forgotten how hard some of these were going to be. But there's always going to be a TBR Vet and a most recent acquisition and so on. So, All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is a historical romance set during or at the start of World War II. Okay. Let's hope for a brown. 3. We're not getting a brown unless we go to roll again. I feel like both pink and green was super hard. Let's go for roll green. 3. 1, 2, 3. Yellow was definitely hard. Pink was definitely hard. Orange was the easiest. Let's go for orange. A borrowed book. And I don't think I have any borrowed books as such, like physical books that I need to read and get back. However, let me have a look at my Libby. Libby holds nothing that's going to come in soon, so I could just pick something and borrow it from the library, but I'm just going to go and look at my partner's shelf right now. I don't have a borrowed book. I have the Emily Wilson Odyssey. I read her Iliad when she published it a few years ago, and this is her relatively recent translation of the Odyssey, which I've borrowed from my son. And he'd probably quite like it back. So yeah, I have 6 books, 5 physical, one, what was that? That was orange. 1 ebook. I will probably end up reading more ebooks than that, but you never know. And I not coloured. I think that might be the first time that everything hasn't been a different colour on my pile of these TBR vet slips. So, and as I say, I'm going to have to go through and check that everything that's in there is still on my shelf. And yeah, I'm just going to go through and remind you what I've got and well, it's probably more about reminding me than about reminding you, to be honest, because you've seen the editor version and I've been running up and down the stairs. So, here we go. Number 1, set somewhere I've been on holiday, and I went for Hurley Fields by Joanne Harris. Set in 17th century France, so I was wrong about him when I gave the synopsis, against a backdrop of witch trials, regicide and religious frenzy. This is the story of Juliette, one-time actress and rope dancer. Forced by circumstances to seek refuge with Fleur, her young daughter, in the remote abbey of Saint-Marie de la Mer, Juliette reinvents herself as Sœur Auguste under the tutelage of the kindly abbess. But times are changing. The murder of Henri IV becomes the catalyst for massive upheaval in France. And this is how her life goes. Number 2, book featuring a craft, and I've got Fragile Enchantment, a love story for the ages threaded with intrigue and scandal. And as I say, this is a romantasy about sewing, or possibly about tailoring. Number 3, clocks on the cover or time word in the title. And I've got 34 Days by Anita Waller, and this is where I should be holding up my Kindle so you can see the cover, but I'm not. So yeah, you'll have to wait and look forward to that. With a natural disaster, this one I actually couldn't find a book for, so if you know a book with a natural disaster, pop it down below. Preferably not The Wizard of Oz, that was the only one I could think of. There must be books with like tsunamis and like post-apocalyptic, eco-fiction. My mind was going completely blank, and I just thought I'll just skip that. And so I've got Threads That Bind. Let me find a blurb. The Moribund always come in 3, like the Moray, the goddesses of fate themselves. The firstborn was a drawer, she could elongate or shorten a thread, and the youngest was a cutter, able to cut whatever thread she desired, even live threads. Cutters were the dangerous ones. So this is basically about the descendants of the fates and the way they took the world. Most recent acquisition, All the Light We Cannot See, which I picked up because I was looking for books with vertical titles, but I actually read the one I intended to for that prompt, and it is a historical romance. And then a borrowed book, The Odyssey, which is about some bloke who goes on a journey, and her sons attempt to deal with that, and his wife's attempt to deal with all the men who come calling when they hear she's unprotected by her husband. And you kind of probably know the vague story of the Odyssey, but this is a particularly nice translation, I hope. There's a lot of translator's notes and introduction, like that's where it starts. Tell me about a complicated man. Muse, tell me how he wandered and was lost when he had wrecked the holy town of Troy, and where he went and who he met, the pain he suffered in the storms at sea, and how he worked to save his life and bring his men back home. I suddenly feel like it's maybe the Iliad. Her Iliad that I haven't read, and not her Odyssey. But I'm going to read it anyway. But it might be a reread for me. Okay, right. So that is what I hopefully will be reading in October, or some idea of what I might be reading in October, and I will see you again next week with a wrap up of what I read in September. And if you can recommend me a book about natural disasters down below, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Bye.